I'm Jimi Hendrix, and this episode is called The Loneliness Way on Empower Your Pattern 2.0. Hello, I'm James Hendrix. I'm Jimi Hendrix. I am a success, confidence, and thrive coach and the founder of James Hendrix Empowerment. There are patterns to help you, I believe there are patterns to help you receive more, help you live a better and extraordinary life. And this podcast, I wish to give you the spiritual and temporal tips to help you overcome the adversities of everyday life. So if you come with me, I'll show you these patterns. Let's go. Now, past episode or so, I hinted to you guys that this was coming. Some pretty hard-hitting content, some pretty raw content. And so, this particular podcast topic I really didn't want to do, but the Lord is showing me something. This particular series has two titles: "The Loneliness Way" and the adversity trick. So we're talking about the loneliness way. Okay, I'm talking to anyone from the sound of my voice. Your friends around you have changed. Or they've not changed in such a way that you know you have to branch out and grow somewhat without them. I know what you're going through. You're a dreamer. You care about where you're going in life. And so many of the friends, maybe at this point, so many of the friends that you had in your life, some of them are moving away. They're moving on so they can grow. And so maybe you're at a point of isolation and loneliness and confusion. Let me tell you something. I have crossed this trek of adversity at least a dozen times in my lifetime. You know what? We might as well go through them all. December 20th, 1989. My maternal grandfather, who I in many ways idolized. I looked up to him as if he was a father. And the thing is, I was reaching out to the people around me at the time, and unfortunately, it got to be, for a while, it was the wrong crowd. I was angry. I was rebellious. Well, there were times that I was angry, not angry, or rebellious. I tried to be social. My first high school sweetheart had dumped me. And so I fell for my second high school sweetheart. I thought, well, this will help me in the social strata. And then come to find out that the person that I thought she was, there was no way she was mature enough to be of my caliber. And my mother as much told me so. And when she broke up with me, when I was getting ready to start college, I was devastated. I went back into a shell. And then, lo and behold, many of you heard of my friend Brad. And I told you how I felt like he got to the point where, in many ways, he was blocking my progression. It didn't start out that way. I started feeling a closeness with Brad and Jim Bob around November, December 1991. I was at such a point. I'll tell you this now. I was at such a point that I didn't care. Maybe I was a rebel. But then again, the beauty of it was my friend Jim Bob taught me, but that being a rebel doesn't pay off. Doesn't always pay off. And so, friends like Brad and some of his friends back in the early days, helped me get out of my shell. I went back into a social butterfly, started having good, clean fun with friends at parties and everything was going reasonably well. Christmas 1994, I discovered that my maternal grandmother was dying. And this one really took its toll. Because as sickly as I was when I was a kid, if I wasn't around Mama, I was hanging on to Grandma's coattails. I was like her shadow. And when I found out that she was going to pass away, it crushed me. And so, I was kind of like, pardon my French when I say this, I was kind of like, piss on you if you don't understand me. And I became rebellious again. I took in my friend Charlie Nation, thinking, hey, my parents don't know what I'm talking about. Because I took in Charlie Nation, sadly I shoved all my other friends away, and it was sad and pathetic. I became rebellious. And then I don't know what it was. April 20th, 1995, I met this girl on campus that I kind of liked. But Charlie helped me see that because of our two personalities, she was going completely different destination than I was. I came back from campus May of 1999, a broken man, back at my shell. Other than my family, I didn't want to deal with anybody. And I told my friend Jim Bob, I said, don't you tell Brad. Because I was angry at Brad at the same time. I was angry at the world. I thank God that Jim Bob did tell Brad, because they intervened. Because you see, I'd stopped going to church. And thanks to Brad, Jim Bob, Julie, Grandma, I started going back to church. I started going back to Bible studies. Everything was going well. And when my grandma did die in November of 1995, in December 1995, I made a conscious effort to go back, surrender my life to the Lord, and develop a closeness with Him beyond compare. This led to me eventually dating and getting married to my ex-wife, Chris. Alright? Now, you've discovered number one. You've discovered number two. Number three is going to be a real zinger. February 10, 1994. My wife and I had been together for about 20 months. I woke up despite our fighting, I wanted us to try to work it out. I had some plans to kind of help her get our business jump started again, get myself back into being socialized again. And I went up to my ex-wife and said, "Look, let's please not separate." And she told me in no uncertain terms that it was over. And I've been over this whole story at least a dozen times, and I gotta say, I was devastated. I had said some pretty hurtful things to her. No doubt that probably contributed to this. But it was one thing I never in a million years thought would happen to me, or would want for me to happen to me. The dissolution of that marriage really broke my heart. And of course, Brad tried to solve it with a dizzying social schedule, but it wasn't working. The advice that Brad wasn't working, and a lot of it was because him and his friends, it was conflicted. "Oh, she'll come back to you. Oh, just get over it. You'll find somebody else later." And finally, I was like, hey, this isn't working. So I stopped going to church with Brad. I stopped associating so much with this crowd because, quite frankly, they were getting reactive. I was like, you know what? Brad, love you, but you're blocking my progression. And so it really took a lot of courage to eventually stand up and say, "Hey, guys, I really don't care what you think anymore. I'm unhappy. I'm miserable. I'm going to do something about this." And the breaking point happened on February 27th, 2001. I got laid off from my volunteer job at Legal Aid. And let me tell you something, I felt so deflated. And I was like, that's it. I'm worthless. No purpose. No hope. Now, around that time, I had started reading the Book of Mormon. And that next morning, I opened it up to 2 Nephi chapter 2. And this one verse, among many which stand out, this one verse stood out and said, "Adam fell that men might be, and men are that they might have joy." I read that, the tears started coming to my eyes, and the Lord said, "You can have joy now. You can have joy. You don't have to worry anymore." So I made my break from the tradition of Brad and Jim Bob. Of course, Jim Bob was breaking free from it as well. And then, so the beauty was, on July 8th of 2001, I became a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Let me tell you something, that was a blessing. I was involved in a wonderful social scene. There were times as a convert, there were times that I felt like I didn't fit in, but I toughed it out. Okay, you've heard of one, you've heard of two, you've heard of three. Get ready for number 4. April 4th, 2003. We've known about a little over a month. For almost 2 months, rather. That my friend Keith, who had never drank hardly any, and when he did, he just felt incredibly guilty. He wasn't an alcoholic. He was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver. And April 4th, we were informed that he had passed away.